Hi, Chloe. So I've had this thought that's sort of been ruminating in my brain for quite a while now, and I didn't really know how to express it. And then tonight, in the shower, it came to like full fruition, and I thought that this would be the best place for me to explain it because I could put it on my blog, but I don't think writing it out would have the same effect as saying the word picture itself would. And this thought is about perspective and how people use perspective as a means to try to help people who are like feeling big feelings calm down, and why that doesn't actually work very well. So what I mean is this. So like imagine that my arms are just full of beach balls. And I have one beach ball that's sadness, and one beach ball that's anxiety, and one beach ball is anger, and one beach ball is disappointment, and one beach ball is frustration, and they're all just kind of piled on top of each other, and my arms are full, and I'm trying to like balance all of these beach balls and deal with them. So, in an ideal world, the best way for me to handle that would be to take a deep breath, take sadness, and be like, okay, why am I sad? What about this event is making me sad? What are the factors? And as I begin to process sadness and feel sadness, sadness slowly shrinks to a manageable size. So it might not go away, but it'll like turn into a stress ball versus a beach ball, so it'll be much more small and manageable. And then I'll take anger and I'll be like, okay, why did this situation make me so angry? Like, what is it that I'm angry about? Let myself really feel the anger, feel the emotion, power through it, and suddenly anger becomes more manageable. And I'll do the same thing with disappointment and anxiety and whatever generally negative feeling I'm experiencing. I will do that. And then suddenly I have just like a handful of much smaller stress balls, um, as opposed to the armful load of a ton of beach balls. And so then I have these small little things, and what I can do then is look at the little balls and say, okay, so like I was angry because this person said this. But what if that's not what they meant? What if I took that wrong? What if this was going on in their life and that's why they responded the way that they did? I can find perspective in those things myself because they're small enough for me to manage. The problem comes when my arms are full of beach balls and someone sees that I'm angry that someone said this. Someone said something mean to me. So instead of helping me process the anger, letting me feel the anger, they decide to throw perspective in the situation and be like, oh, well, maybe she didn't mean it that way, because they think that's going to shrink anger. But what that actually does is just throw me another beach ball, because now I have to think about that perspective when I haven't even thought about the anger yet. I haven't even had a chance to process and deal with what happens, so there's like giving me another tool just adds to the pile. It doesn't actually help me do anything about it, as opposed to saying, well, why are you angry? Like, yeah, okay, she said something rude. You can be angry about that. Let's process through that anger instead of saying, well, here's why you shouldn't be angry, because perspective says that she probably didn't even mean it that way. And the thing is, if I'm left to myself long enough, I will find the perspective. I will think about a situation and be like, oh, well, in future situations, I should think about it this way instead of that way, because I've had the time to come to that perspective myself. And I think that's an important piece of it too, is that it's my perspective on the situation. Because when my arms are full of beach balls and then you're throwing more beach balls of perspective at me, not only am I trying to balance those, but they're not even my thoughts. Like, they're not even my perspective. But when you help me work through those negative emotions and those negative feelings to the point where they're smaller and more manageable, and when I have the chance to look at sadness with perspective, it's my perspective. It's me understanding, oh, like here's what the actual situation was. Like here's why I responded the way that I responded. And it's at that point when I've brought perspective into the situation, when I'm at a stable enough place where I can think about perspective, that someone else could come in and say, hey, like here's another way of thinking about it. Like since you're at the processing point where you're like, what's another way I can look at this? What's the perspective? And bringing the big picture into it myself, that's when other people can bring the big picture in and it's okay. But I've had a lot of people get really frustrated with me because I'm anxious about something, like I'm having a panic attack or I'm just highly anxious, and they try to calm me down by bringing perspective into it, and I don't respond well. And then they get upset. And I'm realizing, like, this is why. It's because I'm dealing with this emotion that just feels so big. And then you're throwing perspective at me, like all of these other beach balls that I have to catch on top of this beach ball that I'm already, like, can't manage. So, not necessarily for you, because you've never done this, but I just realized, like, something that would be really helpful for me and a tool that I can maybe use with other people that constantly throw perspective at me while I'm super upset is just to let me feel the feeling and feel the feeling with me. Like, bring empathy into it and come alongside me and be like, yeah, like, it's okay to be angry about that. It's okay to be sad about that. And then let me process it to the point where I then can say, okay, what's the perspective on this? Because again, like, if I'm given the opportunity and the time to sit down and think about it myself, I will come to the perspective. I always do. And it's generally more valuable because it's my perspective. Like, I came to it myself, so I understand it better. And it's good still for people to add into that and say, oh, here's something else that you can add to your perspective. So, just for everyone out there, anyone who might be watching this video, if someone you know or you get super, super upset about something, if you're angry, if you're frustrated, just imagine that you're holding a beach ball, and even if people are trying to throw perspective at you, you can ignore it and block it out until you've got your beach ball down to a manageable size. That's an okay thing to do. And then you can go back later and explain to them, I wasn't ready for that. I'm not able to catch that perspective right now. Don't try to force it on me. Anyway, that's all I got, Chloe. See you later.